How's it going, guys, and welcome to yet another video. This video is the top 5 scariest ever horror games. Or the top 5 scariest horror games ever. Guys, in this video I'm going to be discussing, in my opinion, the top 5 scariest games ever made. And I was going to include certain games on the PlayStation 1 and a game on the PlayStation 2, but when I play some of the games today, I don't think I actually have room for them. Guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. Put your comments down below, guys, on what you guys personally think is the top 4 or are the top 5 scariest horror games of all time in your opinion. Without further ado though, let's get into it. Now, I don't know what it is about Little Nightmares. Well, I do know what it is, but this game was very, very creepy. I wouldn't say it terrified me, but it was a very, very creepy game. You play as this little guy called Six, who runs around in a little yellow jacket, a bit like Georgie from It.
What a nice boat, Georgie.
All at the meantime, you've got some of the most weird-looking creatures you've ever seen in any horror game. You've got one called the Doctor, who's really, really scary. Another one called the Butler. But for me, without a shadow of a doubt, the creepiest one of all is the lady with the long neck, the teacher. She absolutely terrified me when she was introduced into the game. And she's literally crawling after you through a vent using her long neck. And that, for me, was the point where I could have happily have stopped playing. A truly terrifying experience, I kid you not. And many of you might have actually already played Little Nightmares 1 and 2. They really are scary games. They really are scary games. On a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of scary, though, I'm probably going to give them a 5 out of 10. Which brings me to number 4. And guys, you might be a little bit surprised at my number 4. My number 4 is actually Resident Evil 7. There was quite a few bits within this game that really gave me the creeps. I think the bit where you're exploring the cabin at the start, well, it's not really a cabin, it's more of a house. During this segment, of course, you're looking for your partner, Mia. She's being held captive and you have to go rescue her, and when you do rescue her, she kind of acts really creepy, and then all of a sudden she gets possessed. She climbs up the stairs. There's a bit in the game where you open a door and you're literally about to go down the stairs into the darkness, and she's crawling back up the stairs. She's crawling the other way up the stairs, and I thought, holy sh**. You've got Jack Baker pursuing you through the house as well, which was always quite tense, made me feel quite tense. In terms of the casual monsters you encounter throughout the game, they weren't particularly good, but that boss fight with Margaret Baker, where she literally transforms into this, deformed creature with long arms and long legs, that was utterly petrifying. But overall, a rather scary experience it was for me playing Resident Evil 7. I actually thought it was more scary than Resident Evil Village, which was the one that came after it. And that is my number 4. There is a few games I could have mentioned from the PlayStation 1 and 2, back in the day when I used to play those consoles, but I do feel that horror games today are they're a different level. Number 3, guys, and number 3 is Outlast. Now, Outlast for me, when I first played it, felt like the first of its kind. I'd never actually played a horror game like that before. A game where you're being chased around an abandoned building by maniacs and, monsters. And all you've got is a night vision camera to kind of aid you. That aspect alone was completely terrifying. The fact that in Outlast you were at the mercy of whoever was in front of you, if you were attacked, you couldn't defend yourself. The only thing you had to even see where you were going was a camera. You have to put on the night vision on the camera to see where you're going, and the night vision camera would run out of batteries, so you'd have to find batteries to carry on with the game, or else you're probably just going to keep dying. But for me, the terror of that game came from the fact that you would hide and you'd just be hiding behind a door or a table or something, or underneath a desk, and you'd have your night vision camera out, and you'd just be trying to see who's around, if they're still chasing after you, knowing full well that if they catch you, there's nothing you can do about it. And when you do get spotted, that tense music comes on, and you have to just run for it. The jump scares within the game are pretty good as well, and the fact that the jump scares within the game were so well timed and unpredictable kept you feeling on edge throughout the playing experience. And that's why Outlast and Outlast 2 occupy third spot, because they are very similar. If you've played the first and the second, they're quite identical. But the first just edged it for the fact that it was the first one. And number 2, guys, one of my favourite ever horror games in the history of horror games. Alien Isolation. I have very rarely felt fear like I did when I first played Alien Isolation. You are literally being hunted And the thing that makes Alien Isolation so utterly terrifying is that the AI for the alien hunting you is so advanced. Now, we all know Ellen Ripley, of course, from the original classic movies, but in this game you play as Amanda Ripley, who is investigating the disappearance of her mother aboard space station Sevastopol. All the meanwhile, you're being hunted by an alien, or the scientifically pronounced xenomorph. And throughout the game, you must try and avoid the xenomorph in order to survive, all at the same time trying to also avoid other dangerous people. But the real fear for this game comes from the fact that you never really know where the alien is. You could be having a nice stroll down a corridor and all of a sudden, it also has the ability to hide in the vents and also just to sneak upon you unsuspectingly. And if you hear it nearby, whatever you do, do not try and run away to gain some distance because it will hear your footsteps and it will come and kill you. My best option is to find somewhere and hide, and even then you're not guaranteed to be safe. And to make matters worse, when you get to the end of the game, there's actually more than one alien, so you're going to be hunted by multiple aliens. Just make sure you've got your flamethrower handy because that's the only weapon that will get rid of them. But for me, Alien Isolation is an absolutely brilliant horror experience. It makes you feel tense throughout, which is why Alien Isolation makes it in at number 2. And honestly, guys, if you haven't played it, if you've never heard of it, look it up. Alien Isolation, in terms of a proper core horror experience, you will not get too much better than this. Apart from this next one I'm about to show you. So without further ado, number 1 is the Visage, or Visage. Probably the most tense, atmosphere-filled horror game I have ever played in my life. And the majority of the scary parts within this game is actually when nothing is happening. You could just be walking around an empty house or an empty corridor of the hospital and you just feel naturally scared. Almost like you think something's about to happen, but it actually doesn't. The Visage is the best horror game I've ever played in terms of delivering atmosphere and tension. Yes, there's a few jump scares along the way, but this game didn't actually need a whole lot of jump scares because it's just an overall gripping experience. The game is separated into 3 chapters: the Dolores chapter, the Lucy chapter, and the Reagan chapter. You get chased by a man on crutches, you get haunted by an old woman who stands on the staircase twitching, looking at you, and you get chased by a little girl. It's scary. I'll never forget the first time I played it and I was walking up a poorly lit stairs and I flashed the camera and all of a sudden the little girl was standing at the top looking at me. It wasn't necessarily a jump scare, it was just a tense moment and I freaked out. Not to mention whatever this thing is. I mean, this thing looked like it came from the realms of hell. It's a game that purely focuses on unsettling the player. From the lighting to the visuals to the overall atmosphere of the game. It's a game that never allows the player to feel at ease. This has to be the most disturbing, scary, difficult game to play of my life. I must have played this game for like an hour at a time and then had like a 20-minute breather and then thought, okay, I'm ready to continue. But that is why the Visage for me lands at number 1. Like I said, put your comments below, guys. I will see you very shortly. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and I will catch you very, very soon for another enthralling, exciting video. That'll do. Goodbye.